So I think we're live. All right. Sonny and Semenza. Hey, it's B Paiz and with Sonny and Semenza tonight. How you going, fellas?
Doing great, man. Happy to have you, B Pays, hosting the show. It's nice to mix it up a little bit, and excited about another week of college football here.
Man,
Absolutely.
I got my boy B Pays and Maddie. Last week I was 1-4. I am ecstatic.
Let me shout out Sonny too for helping me out a couple of weeks ago when the graphics weren't right on ESPN Plus. I was twittering them like, man, they don't have the score up, the yardage. And as soon as I hit you on a Twitter, I think 5 minutes later it came up. I was like, yeah.
I got you, my brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, it's Wednesday night on a couple more days till Saturday. So I'm feeling great.
Yep, me too. Hopefully the Pirates can do their thing this weekend, and kind of a light weekend of top 25 games. But there's some interesting games this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, every weekend there can be big games and they can be not good, and then maybe games where the schedule doesn't look that great, and then those could be amazing games. So every weekend you never know what to expect. But I think as the day goes on, we're going to see a lot of great games.
I do too. I absolutely do. Semenza, what's your favorite game? What's your favorite game this weekend?
I'll tell you, man. I'd probably say Florida, Tennessee, just because of the rivalry. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm excited because there's good things happening in Knoxville for the first time in many years, it seems like. So it's nice to see that back, and I think that's going to be a tough game.
I do too. I like that. I like the quarterback from Florida. I think he's going to be. I like him a lot. I like him a great Final Four matchup with Kansas, Kansas and Duke this weekend.
I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a really good game. Hey, I'm excited for both fan bases because one of them is going to come out undefeated. The other one will have one loss, but both those teams are well coached and having really good starts.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Absolutely. I got a chance to meet the Duke coach a couple of weeks ago. We had an event at my job, and he came by, and really impressed with that guy. He reminds me a lot of Mike Houston, and their kind of demeanor and things like that. So, yeah, I think he'll do well at Duke.
Yeah, I can't remember ever a time where Duke versus Kansas was a game you'd preview for college football.
I know.
So
I know.
It's cool to see, though, guys. I mean, for me, the story of the season so far is the parity that we're seeing. I think it's tremendous. I mean, I can't remember, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I just can't remember a time, in college football, at least in the last 20 years or so, where there's been this much parity. I mean, it's fantastic for the game.
I agree with you. I think, as much as we talk about people were negative about the NIL, I actually think the NIL made parity a little bit more common in college. I get some of the bigger schools that got more money and things like that, but I think Coach Logan used to talk about with the BCS, how the BCS, killed the, schools like East Carolina because it changed the game. Well, I think the NIL actually helps. I don't like the group of five term, but I think the NIL actually helps us.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know, Jay. I don't know your thoughts. I mean, I feel very confident that the transfer portal helps us in a big way. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good take. I mean, it may just be that it's an unintended consequence, right?
Yeah, and Jay, you see a lot of these high school guys, weekly. I mean, you could probably tap in more, about that.
Well, I'll tell you what. For these high school kids, there's a lot of good players that aren't getting recruited the way they normally would, just because schools are looking at a certain amount of high school players, then holding spots, for transfer situations, and then then they've got to wait and see how many of their own guys transfer out. So for the high school kids, there are outstanding players that before would have been committed or had more opportunities, and they're kind of waiting. And it's interesting to see, but in the Raleigh area where I'm at, the level of football has gone up tremendously here. And I know a lot of the kids here, and there's kids that are great players and they're just not getting, the looks yet. yet, and it's more of a lengthy process.
Yeah, and I think I get back to I think something that we were talking about. I think it's a combination of the NIL and transfer portal. You made a good point on the transfer portal. I think it's a combination of that's kind of evened things out. And just like Sonny said, it's one of those things where there are players that are not getting looked at. I told y'all earlier we had the high school football team up at my job today, Cary High School, and there was a kid on there that's getting looked by Wake Forest is, I think looking at him pretty well, but there was like 10 guys in there, and the coach was telling me, he's like, these guys are all, Division I product. And he said, but the problem is, he said, it's just, and he brought the transfer portal up. He said, these coaches are waiting, it's like the microwave. They want instant heat. They want the instant reaction.
Yeah, I mean, and you see, look no further than East Carolina and what we're getting from the portal this year with our receivers. I mean, what a pickup Isaiah Winstead has been.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been making play after play on the outside, and then you look at Jalen Johnson and Parker Moore. So, we're seeing right up close and personal that instant impact that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
East Carolina, if they didn't have those three and then Justin Red, I mean, those four guys, tremendous newcomers to the offense. I mean, the whole team wouldn't be the same if East Carolina didn't have those four guys.
Yeah, you talked about Winstead and Jalen. I mean, they remind me. I think Jalen or Winstead. One of them reminds me of Cam Worthy. Used to play for us a couple of years ago. Big physical wide receiver. That Carden. Remember, he made that great catch at Virginia Tech when we beat them up there that year when we were making the comeback. And Carden just kind of threw it up, and he just went and got it. And one actually I think it was Jalen. Kind of reminds me of Troy Smith. I remember Troy, big physical receiver, go get the ball. So I like those guys a lot. I mean, those were great pickups. I mean, yeah, and you talk about those guys, what they meant, because coming into the season with CJ, kind of didn't really know what was going to happen with him. But those three guys and losing Snead, those three guys have definitely. And I'll be honest with you, I think the wide receiving core this year is better than what we had last year.
I agree. I agree.
I think do as well.
Has NFL potential.
Yeah, I think both of them do. I think three of them do. Yeah, CJ, Jalen, and Winstead. I think they all could be playing on Sundays.
And both tight ends. I think all three wide receivers, both tight ends, will have NFL opportunities.
Calvin and Jones, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny, guys. We were talking about the Navy game a little bit last night, and I was saying one of the differences I think really in our favor this year is I think we can really attack them in the passing game. I mean, because just the size of our receivers now with Winstead at 6'5", I mean, we have guys that can go up and get it. And I think it's going to create huge matchup problems for Navy this week that maybe we haven't seen in previous years.
And we talked about I think I mentioned the thing, the chop block rule, I think. Yes. You could say, Coach Ken, I can never say his last name, so I just say Coach Ken. But I think, you can say, he's kind of fallen off in the last 2 years or 3 years now going on this, I think he was two losing seasons in a row, now they're 0-2. But that chop block, son, and you play, I mean, that both of y'all, that chop block deal was a game changer for those guys that run that option like they do.
It's a huge factor because, when you can cut at the second level outside the box or wide receivers, players slow down. Players are worried about that. They're keeping their head on a swivel. And if they know you can't do that, then it changes the ball game and you can play a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll tell you guys, I used to hate as a linebacker, the thing I hated the most was when you would have wide receivers, diving at your ankles and at your knees. It was so frustrating. And sometimes you couldn't even see them coming and they'd be diving at your ankles. And so I think it's a really good point. It changes the game. I think it helps. I think it really benefits, East Carolina in this matchup, because I think, to Jay's point, we're going to play a lot faster we're not going to get hung up on those blocks below the knees.
Yeah, I watched the game it's Memphis last week. Memphis attacked them. I mean, what you were talking about, Matt. Memphis attacked them. Offensively, that's what you're talking about. And I used to, when we were playing, with Ruff and with Coach Mo and those guys, I always, when we would play Navy, I always would wonder why we didn't, what you just said, Semenza, why didn't we attack them offensively where they just couldn't, I think we a couple of times we played into their hands and, but, instead of really just attacking their defense, especially on the deep balls, I mean, and I don't think Navy's known for safeties and things like that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I think Coach Houston and those guys will get them ready on Saturday. I think they'll be ready for. I think they found the sweet spot last year up in Annapolis, and then I think we have a better team than we did last year when we went to Annapolis.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think we're much further. I think Holton Ahlers is a totally different player. I mean, Jay, you've probably seen a lot more film than I have, but just watching Holton this year, guy, I see a quarterback who he's a fifth-year guy. I think he's at the top of his game. He looks so much more comfortable to me going through his progressions. He's doing things that I haven't really seen him do before. And it just looks like the game has slowed down completely for him. And obviously it's nice to have these awesome targets to be able to throw the ball to and a better offensive line in front of you. But I think he looks like Holton Ahlers to me right now looks like the guy that we all thought he would be coming out of high school. I think he's just playing really good football.
Yeah. So two things. I mean, this is the best players he's had around him and best offensive line. So I think that helps him out a lot. I also think that, this is his last year, and anytime this is the last go around, you're going to lock in even more and, enjoy the moments, but also, play your best. And then his accuracy, just his ball placement on Saturday versus Campbell. I mean, he was hitting the wide receivers in stride on very difficult throws, and he was poised in the pocket. He just looks relaxed in the pocket.
He does. I went back and I didn't get a chance to watch the game live, but I went back and rewatched it Saturday night when I got home, and I agree. And I'll be honest with you, I think sometimes folks hold left-handed quarterbacks differently than they do right-handed quarterbacks, because I think sometimes people think left-handed quarterbacks look a little bit more uncomfortable. I mean, he has been uncomfortable in the previous years, but no, I mean, I don't know if it was the Manning Academy that he went to or what, but or like Sonny said, he might just have some better players around him this year. I mean, because when you got two legit running backs, and you, like we talked about, you got 5 legitimate offensive, including the tight end receivers. You got legitimate, pass catchers and legitimate runners. I think that it's I think it's changed the game for him, but he does look a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, they teamed him up with Chad Powers down there at the Manning Passing Academy. Fellas, you guys, you familiar with Chad Powers?
I know. Yeah, I'm all about Chad Powers.
So Paiz, I don't know if you saw that. Eli Manning went undercover.
Oh yeah, I saw that with the Giants. Yeah, he ran like a 5.6 40. He was like a 5.6 40.
How not to get off topic, but how great was that video?
Yeah.
With the I mean, his haircut was awful. They gave him a gigantic prosthetic nose. Chad Powers, man, that was classic.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a completely different quarterback this year. But they had those 2 interceptions in the NC State game. The first pass was, I can live with that one. The second one was bad, but that first one, since then he's not had an interception since then, has he?
Jay might know. I'm not sure.
No interceptions.
Yeah, I didn't think he had one in Old Dominion or the Campbell game.
Yep, no interceptions.
Yeah, so
it's gonna be interesting, fellas. So what do you guys think? You guys want to get right into Duke and Kansas?
Absolutely.
Let's
Is that? Oh, that's.
I'm ready to win. I'm ready to win some more.
7.7.5 right now. That's interesting. I'm not a bettor, but I might ask my wife if I can pull a little bit out the fun there. I might put a little bit on that one right there.
I'm going Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Ooh, Jay, that confidence just came out, man. Like there was no hesitation.
Well, I saw Kansas week 1. I'm really impressed with them. I know Duke's having a good year too, but I'm going to go with the Jayhawks.
Kansas quarterback's a transfer, right?
No, he's not.
He's not a transfer? Okay, I thought he was a guy transfer portal. Okay. For some reason why I thought he came from Baylor or something. I don't know.
He's from California.
He's from California. Okay.
Yeah, he's like 19. He's like a junior, and he's like 18 or 19.
I mean, I
met him in person. He's outstanding kid.
I watched that West Virginia. I watched that Kansas West. My dad's a West Virginia grad.
Yeah.
And I watched that Kansas West Virginia game, and I mean, it was
Jaden Daniels. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he was lighting them up.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in their coach Lance Leipold and their discipline. They've got a bunch of transfers on the defensive side. Staff is awesome. I think they're going to have a special year.
Because you did the game out there, right?
Yeah, I did week 1, so I got to talk to a few of the players and met with the coaches in person. And
has their facilities gotten any better?
I mean, their facilities are getting better compared to Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's they're starving for a winner on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I was really impressed with every part of the program when I was out there. So I think I think they're here to stay. And I think, whatever their ceiling is talent-wise, if that's 7 wins, if it's 5 wins, if it's 9 wins, whatever it is, they're going to get the most out of it.
Where did Leipold come from? Where was he at before?
He was at Buffalo.
That's right. Yep. That's right. Sure was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did a nice job up there at Buffalo. Yeah, Jay, I remember you were saying you were very impressed with the program.
He won more national championships. He came from Wisconsin Whitewater to Buffalo. He won more national championships than he lost games. He was like 114 and I think 6, and he won like 7 national championships. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
All right. Well,
Jay, who's your team?
So we're going to agree on this one. All right. So here's some stats I'll throw at you guys. So Duke is 3-0, but you look at who they beat. Not overly impressive. North Carolina A&T, Northwestern, and then Temple. Big win over Temple. Hey, they took care of business. All credit, but not exactly blown away with those wins. And then you look at Kansas, wins over West Virginia and Houston, and they're averaging 53 points per game. Which is really impressive. And here's the one that kind of put me over the edge, fellas. If you look at Duke, they're 1-8 against the spread in their last nine road games. They're 1-8 against the spread. So I think Kansas, the line is 7.5. I thought that was light. I think Kansas is going to steamroll Duke. I think they're going to win by probably 17 points. I'm going Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
I agree. I mean, that's when I just saw those points, I was like, whoa. I agree with you. I think Duke's first, not the first road game, but going out to Kansas and playing, and I think Duke will I think Duke's going to be a better program, but I think on Saturday they get exposed.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch. Like you said, Paiz, it's a Final Four game.
It is. Yeah. Should have Coach K and Larry Brown flip the coin at halftime. I mean, at the beginning of the game.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Clemson and Wake Forest.
All right. Jay, you want to hit this one first, or you want me to go? What do you want to do?
All right. You guys are going to be shocked here. I'm going to go Clemson.
All right.
I'm feeling dangerous tonight. Wake Forest is at home, ranked 21st, good offense. Clemson's not probably as talented on the offensive end, but Clemson's defense is amazing. I think they're going to do it on the road.
All right. I like it. All right. So you know I like to pull up all these crazy stats. Jay knows this by now, but so Clemson, what? What's the line here, fellas? 7.5, right?
I think it's 7 even, isn't it?
Okay. So Clemson last 10 games. This is a crazy one. Last 10 games in September. In the month of September, Clemson against the spread is 1-9. Hard to believe, right? How is that even possible? But against the spread, here's where I think this game was going to turn a little bit. Wake Forest is 98th, 98th in rushing offense at about 128 yards per game, but Clemson is ranked 10th against the run. They're only giving up 74 yards per game on the ground. So you got a combination of a bad rushing team in Wake against a great run defense in Clemson. I think Clemson's going to make them one-dimensional and probably tee off with their pass rush. So I'm going to say Clemson goes into Wake and gets it done and covers.
It's going to be interesting because it's Sam Hartman's second game back. So, I guess his first game was last week. And it's going to be a sellout, it looks like. I think there was 200 tickets left today, I read, for the game. So see if Hartman is a little bit more settled in than he was last week. That'll be interesting.
What do you think, Paiz?
I agree with y'all. Cover the 7 on the road. I'm not sold on Clemson's quarterback yet.
Me neither.
I think he's up and down. I think he looks uncomfortable sometimes. Because they've beaten who? Clemson's beaten Furman and Louisiana Tech.
And Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, yeah.
Georgia Tech's no good.
Yeah, I think me and Semenza could go out there and give Georgia Tech a little run. They're pretty. I think Jeff Collins he might be the first one to get. He might be I don't know what the over under is, or him or Neil Brown from West Virginia, but them two could be the first two casualties of. Besides Herm Edwards, they could be the first other casualties of head coaching job changes in the middle of the season, especially if Neil Brown loses tomorrow night to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, good. That's a good call there on Harsin at Auburn too.
Yeah.
And hey guys, there was a video. Is it not to, but you mentioned Herm Edwards, Paiz. Did you guys see the video? It was on Twitter.
I did. Well, they tarmacked him at the end of the field.
Yeah, was that real? Did he actually get fired on the field like that? Is that where they let him?
I think they pulled up on him and told him they wanted to, meet with him after the game. But they really, I think they were. I mean, you could see their body language. And you don't lose. Who they lose to? Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you can lose to them. And that's a. I think they got. I mean, I think it was within hours they got him.
True.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's a rough way to go out, man. That's.
Yeah. He was just never. He was never a comfortable fit there for me. Just on the outside looking in. Pro guys that go back to college. Is it what's the successful? I mean, Harbaugh has kind of been successful. I don't know. Bill O'Brien, I guess, had a couple of decent years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see that too much.
Yeah, not many. Pete Carroll was one that had a lot of success. When he left I think he was with the Jets for 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then went to USC and got it done. But to your point, I mean, there's very few.
Yeah, I mean, and that USC team was damn near a pro team anyway.
They were.
They were basically a pro team. with the college. It'll be interesting though. I'm watching that Neil Brown situation though with West Virginia, Virginia Tech tomorrow night, because if he goes down to Virginia Tech and Virginia Tech is won 2 in a row, but if he goes down there and gets smacked, I think it's going to heat up for him quickly in Morgantown. They're not. I mean, they're already. I think I told y'all this off camera. I mean, United Bank is one of the big sponsors up there at West Virginia. They got the suites and things like that. And one of the big donors from United Bank's already said he'll write Hugh Freeze what check he wants.
Interesting.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze would do good at West Virginia.
He wins wherever he goes. I mean,
just keep the cell phones and the cell phones away from him.
He's a great coach, though. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it'll be. So, what do you think about the West Virginia situation? You think if they lose tomorrow night, that seat will go extra hot?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could get fired.
Yeah,
I think. But the thing with these coaches I mean, there's going to be so many openings, and there's not going to be enough good coaches to fill them.
Yeah,
like if I'm Hugh Freeze, you can get an SEC job. I mean. And also, I mean, with West Virginia, for example, I mean, they should want him, but I mean, he could get the Auburn job potentially. Hugh Freeze good, and I mean, they wanted him. Tennessee, well, he could have gone to Tennessee a couple years ago before Heupel. So anyways, I mean, I agree with you; those schools are going to want him. But I guess my point is, I don't think West Virginia is close to the openings that some of those other jobs are going to be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, it's I mean, it's not Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, but that's not the top job in the Big 12.
Oh no, and they still have a portion of that alumni fan base up there that would take Rich Rodriguez back in a heartbeat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's at Jacksonville State. He's at Jacksonville State this year, but the thing with Rodriguez is he's always going to have offense, and that's the problem with Neil Brown. He just don't have enough offense, and in Big 12, you got to have some offense,
Yeah, well, and at West Virginia, you got to have a guy that can recruit Florida, and you got to be able to have something creative. They want a guy that's good on offense up there.
Well, I will tell you this, and that was a good point you made about Florida. West Virginia, as much money as they got to go to the Big 12, and it was the right move for them, they hurt themselves in Florida recruiting.
Right.
Because a lot of those Florida guys, when they were, in the Big East playing Miami and, teams like that, they were going down there and getting those Florida guys. But a lot of those guys are not getting them no more because West Virginia's out on an island by themselves, man.
You've got to have assistants with connections down there, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've always had guys down there. But, I mean, that's a good job. I think, they should go after Hugh Freeze when it opens up. Because, I mean, the thing is, when these guys are on the hot seat, it's just a matter of time. I mean, sometimes they can turn it around. But, I mean, unless Neil Brown wins the rest of his games, they've already made the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's trending that way. I just think Hugh Freeze can get something better if he wants to leave. But I mean, he's got a good situation at Liberty too. So
yeah, absolutely.
I would only leave unless there's something I really, really want.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's going to be, that's not even a good point. There's going to be the end of the season. I mean, we probably don't want to, wish that, but if ECU goes 9-3 or so, I mean, Mike Houston's going to be on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a little scary to me because to your point, I mean, it's just the way it works. It's just the way it works, and money talks. And if he gets a gigantic offer to go somewhere, I mean, the chances of him not taking it are very slim. And it's funny you mentioned this. I was actually thinking today, just kind of, and we're not to put the cart before the horse, but who would be sort of next in line for East Carolina? And not to go off topic, but I just tell you this: Blake Harrell is a guy I want to keep in Greenville, regardless of what happens in the future, because I think he's a tremendous coach.
Well, I do too. I think he could be. It's just if whenever they're making those decisions, because he's not had any head coaching experience, right? He's always been an assistant, right? Yeah, I don't think he's had. Yeah.
Yeah, he's never. Yeah, he came from what was he at? Was he at Kennesaw? Was he at
Kennesaw
Kennesaw
State.
He's an awesome guy. Kirkpatrick's. I mean, our whole staff's great.
Yeah,
But
I could
that's
definitely
the
see.
thing. When teams win, they're going to get, there's going to be more attention. So, I mean, yeah, everybody right now is in locked in, focus mode. But, the teams that win at the end of the year, they get, the players, everybody gets the notoriety. So,
Yeah, I think Sloan at LSU would get a look because he's the East Carolina guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he would get a. I think he'd get a look too. It'll definitely be it'll definitely be interesting once if that does happen, because I mean it's going to come. That's just natural of that business. It's going to, if you do in any business, if you do well, and folks are going to come for you. So, but I agree with you, Semenza. I like Blake Harrell a lot. I think he's a potential there.
Yeah, no doubt. I've said it like 100 times, like over the years. Like his scheme, I think, is just a perfect fit for East Carolina. The aggressive, attacking, blitzing scheme. I think it's just a perfect fit. And he's. I think the type of personnel we get, I think it works really well, in that type of scheme versus some like traditional like 4-3 defense. It's not as multiple, but he was, I think his hire here, Mike Houston, you got to give him credit, because after his first season, when Bob Trott was let go, he had a big decision to make, and he hired the right guy. It was a tremendous hire.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see. Dwayne Ledford would probably get a look too. Where's Ledford at? He with the Falcons now, right?
yeah.
Yeah. He's the offensive line coach with the Falcons. So I know that would be his dream job if that ever happened, and that would be pretty interesting to see.
Yep, absolutely. All right,
So
what we got? So what's our next game here?
what we got? We got all right, guys. Number 22, Florida. Number 22, Florida at number 12, Tennessee, at 3:30 on Saturday. And let's see, the Vols, 10.5, minus 10.5. What do you think there, Jay?
All right, guys. Initially I'm going to say Tennessee, but I think this is a rivalry game. Anytime there's a rivalry game, usually it's close. So I'm going to say Florida to cover.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you guys, this is another tough one. They're always tough, but kind of looking at Anthony Richardson last week, and I pulled up some of his stats, because I think, like, when I look at him, he has all the talent in the world. All the talent in the world. I mean, just an incredible athlete, but he's, as a quarterback, he doesn't have many reps yet. He's still a young quarterback at this level. So, I think the best plays he's made so far this year are with his feet. And when you dig into his numbers a little bit, his completion percentage is 53%, not great, but 0 touchdowns passing and 4 interceptions. He threw a huge interception in the red zone against USF last week. Florida was about, I don't know if you guys saw that, Florida was about to score, and he threw a really bad ball that was intercepted by USF and almost actually sealed their fate. So he seems to be, I think now that there's some tape on him and he's a young quarterback, he seems to be struggling a little bit more. And then you look at Hooker for Tennessee, 69% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. So 2 opposite extremes there. And then Tennessee is really balanced. They have, like 1,100 passing yards and about 550 rushing yards. So they're doing a great job with that offense, averaging 52 a game. I think Florida will hang in for a while, but I do think Tennessee is going to pull away. I think they're going to pull away and cover the spread. So I'm going with the Vols at home in an electric Knoxville.
How dare you betray me, Maddie? I thought we were going to have the same picks. You're trying to one-up me. You already destroyed me last week. I got a sense of my pride back going 3-2 this week.
Hey, we had to disagree.
I respect it.
We had to disagree, but yeah, man. Hey, you never know. Like you said, it's a rivalry game, so who knows, right?
Is Tennessee at Georgia or Georgia's at Tennessee this year?
Ooh. Bubba would probably know on that one. That's a good question.
That's going to be a good as Georgia's defense is, but Tennessee playing at up tempo. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys think anybody can beat Georgia this year? What do you guys think?
Tennessee's at Georgia.
Oh, they're at Georgia. Okay. Can anybody beat Georgia?
I think they can, but will they? Maybe Alabama in the SEC championship game. The way they're playing right now, with their defense as good as they are, the only team. Yeah, I mean, I think somebody can beat them, but I mean, the only team that can beat them in the national championship to me is Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think there's a huge drop off between Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson compared to Alabama and Georgia.
What about our buddy Lincoln Riley over there? Got him up to number 7.
They're not playing defense.
They didn't play defense here either. So
I mean, they're good, but I mean, you guys know that. I mean,
yeah,
there's a huge difference between Georgia and Georgia had 15 guys drafted off of last year's team.
Oh yeah, they're loaded.
So
I think USC actually has the best chance to get into the playoff. Looking at their schedule, they have a Notre Dame game at the end of it, but Notre Dame hasn't shown anything. They play. I think they got to do Oregon still, and because the Pac-12 is not very strong. Utah, they play at Utah. They play, I think, at Utah. So that could be an interesting game for USC. But they get past Utah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think they have a path, a pretty clear path to get in that 4.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think you're right, and I think Lincoln, fellas, he needs to enjoy it now while he's, playing Pac-12 ball, because when he goes to the Big Ten, here's my concern for USC when they go to the Big Ten, when they have to go to Columbus or Happy Valley in mid-November and it's 20 degrees and snowing. I don't see that as a great recipe for the West Coast teams, so I think it's going to be, especially, I mean, UCLA, I think, is really going to struggle in the Big Ten, but can Lincoln, will he be able to pass the ball like that when it's 20 degrees and windy and there's
hey,
hail?
remember the Temple game in 2014?
Trying to forget it, brother.
It's cold, it was rainy, and that offense had problems.
Oh, you're not kidding. Were you there that day, Paiz?
Yep, sure was. Me and my dad rode the train. We rode the train up to Philly from Rocky Mount.
Oh,
yeah, it was cold.
That is the worst weather I've ever experienced at a football game. It was miserable.
It was.
Jay, were you there?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it was. The only thing that made me feel better is I ate a cheesesteak afterward and after the game. So that's the only thing that made me feel better. Yeah, I'm looking at USC's. They play Arizona State at home, at Oregon State versus at Washington State at home, at Utah, at Arizona, California at home. Colorado's terrible. UCLA's 3-0, but that's a fake 3-0. They haven't really played anybody. And then Notre Dame at the end of the season, they really, I mean, technically, so they don't have Oregon on their schedule. The only time they could play Oregon, I thought everybody play. I guess they don't. Everybody. That's right. Everybody don't play each other out there, so they could play Oregon in the championship game, I guess. Yeah. So because they don't play, I mean, their schedule's so weak, it might keep. Could be the reverse, but they're not going to keep too many politics in college football. They're not going to keep USC out of that.
Yeah, if you have a chance to get that Los Angeles market into the playoff, the powers that be are going to find a way to do it, right?
Yeah, and where's the BCS? I mean, the BCS, the championship game this year is Arizona, Glendale, or is that the Super Bowl?
I'm not sure.
I think it's in LA.
Is it? It's in LA this year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, USC definitely getting
in.
Well, that's the national championship. That's the national championship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's Atlanta and Dallas, right? I think it's the yeah. I think that's the playing games. Yeah, that is in I didn't realize. So that's a good call. I didn't realize it was in LA. January 9th, 2023 in LA. How about that? How about if Lincoln Riley could get them to the national championship game in this home city?
Whew. Well, if he can do that in year one, that would be a pretty amazing accomplishment, because it's not like USC has been very good for several years. And you got to give him credit. I mean, and for him to be able to bring the quarterback from Oklahoma, is it Caleb Williams? Do I have the name right? You talk about a huge get.
And they got that wide receiver from Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, those were he brought instant offense into it. So yeah, so the play in the semifinals are Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the G5, whoever that representative is, will go to the Cotton Bowl this year. Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's going to be interesting, fellas. It's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely.
What do we got next? Bubba, what is it? We got Indiana and Cincinnati, fellas?
All right, I'm going to go with Cincinnati, Team AAC here. I'll be a homer.
All right, so 17? It's 17, huh?
Yeah, I don't think Indiana's.
I got faith in the Bearcats. They're going to score some touchdowns and prove me right.
Wow. Whew. That's a big spread. I mean, I'm gonna, you know what, Jay? I'm gonna be honest. I don't have any feel for this game whatsoever. This is a weird matchup for me. I just think the spread might be a little too much. So I'll go with the Hoosiers.
Matty.
Just to mix it up, brother.
Flipping across again. Mixing it up with me.
All
right, Matty.
Opposite day.
We're adversaries on two of these games. Paiz, who are you going with? You with me or Matty? I want to hear.
I'm going with. I'm not a Cincinnati fan. I don't care if they're in the conference or not. So I'm going with Indiana.
I'm the lone rider here. All right, I'm going to bring this up next week. If I win, you guys are going to hear it from me. If I lose, then you guys better talk trash because I deserve it.
So what? Indiana's 3-0. Indiana, they beat Western Kentucky, Idaho, and Illinois.
Let's all three of us be honest. We know about Cincinnati. We know nothing about Indiana because I know nothing about Indiana.
Right.
So I'm going Cincinnati.
I watched the Cincinnati Miami of Ohio game last week, and Miami of, I know they consider that a rivalry game, I guess, but Miami of Ohio stayed. They played at the Bengal Stadium, but they stayed in the game there until. For that quarterback of Cincinnati, he's okay, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes last week.
Now he's the quarterback who came from Eastern Michigan. Is that correct?
I think he's transferring. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a transfer in. Yeah. Plus, I'm just like I said, I'm not a Cincinnati fan. I think they're going to go to the Big 12 and get smacked around. They're going to get back to reality real quick.
I certainly hope so. I would love to see it because I am not a Cincinnati fan either by any stretch. I still kind of have a little bit of a problem with that Fickle situation. I don't know the full story with it with that fake punt a few years ago, and which is strange for me because I'm not a guy like I feel like if your defense can't stop my offense, then the blame is on you. But a fake punt, that seemed a little odd. Maybe you guys know more about that situation, but that kind of irked me a little bit a few years back when that happened.
Yeah, that's the one where him and Houston at the end of the game had some words, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. But I remember. Yeah, I don't. Who's Cincinnati beating? They beat Miami of Ohio, Kennesaw State, and lost to Arkansas. They're 2-1.
All right, guys, listen. I'm gonna go with the Bearcats. You guys might be right. But if I'm right, I'm going to remember this one. I may not remember any of the other picks. I'll remember this one.
Okay, if Indiana wins, just find me my favorite wing place in Cary. I don't know where it's at, but
well, Bearcats better pull me through. I'm Team American, AAC. All right, Bubba, who's the next game? I want to try to win another one. Arkansas, Texas A&M. All right. Guys, I think I hope you disagree with me on this because I want to go 2-0 on these last two. A&M.
Oh,
I'll definitely disagree. I think Arkansas is going to go in and get it.
You guys are going SEC on the road to go in. They already had their wake-up call against Appalachian State.
Whew. Jay, you're the lone wolf tonight, man, because
I can't wait for Saturday. I can't wait for next week. Because if I lose, I'll take it too.
I like Arkansas's coach. That he's going to.
I like their coach too. No, I love him.
He's going to drink a cold beer after the game that one day.
Jimbo Fisher talks faster than anybody I've ever seen in a press conference.
It's all those guys. Jimbo, he's a West Virginia guy too. It's that they. Yeah, they.
All right, well, I'm going with Gig'em.
Whew.
I can't go with Texas A&M because of the
Manziel Spirit will be in the stadium.
I can't go with them because of that pregame ritual they do, and that guy he's been highlighted two games in a row now. The one they do with the 12th man. Have you seen these videos this guy is doing? He called like Miami like a bunch of thugs, and he said Appalachian State. He had to look on the map and find out where they were. And
yeah.
This guy is all over the place, man.
They're switching quarterbacks. Max Johnson's starting. It's okay. It's all right. I'm gonna be by myself again. I thought y'all were gonna join me on some of these, but
well, let me throw some stats at you, Jay. Huh? Let me throw some stats at you.
Right? Don't throw any good knowledge at me. Don't throw stats at me, Matty.
I got some data. I got some data here, Jay.
I'm not good with data.
Sonny's feeling real good about his picks right now. Let's don't throw.
B-Pace, I'm on a high right now. I was 1-4. B-Pace, I was 1-4 2 weeks ago. I was sad for a week, and then I got 3-2. I just found out it's 3-2. I've never been happier. So give me some data, Matty.
All right, here's some data for you guys. All right, so very impressive stat. Texas A&M, their defense is only allowing eight points per game. All right, that's amazing. So that's the strength of their team, but their offense, they really can't score. They're only averaging about 20 points per game. They struggle to score big time. And then you look at Arkansas. That's the strength of their team. They're a very good, solid offensive team with Jefferson at quarterback, and I love the offensive coordinator, Bryles. So I think when it's all said and done, Arkansas will outscore A&M, in my opinion, in College Station. Arkansas's weakness is that they can't cover anybody on the back end. They have one of the worst secondaries in college football. So if Texas A&M opens up the offense and starts to throw it around, I think they can have success. But their offenses look so abysmal to me that I just think that the Razorbacks are going to march in there and take care of business. So I think they're going to cover the 1.5.
I think they played. So Arkansas beat Cincinnati, beat South Carolina, struggled a little bit with Missouri State last week until the second half. Petrino came back in. Now listen to Arkansas' schedule here. They played Texas A&M. Then the next week they got Alabama at home. And then they got to go to Mississippi State. Then they play, BYU just plays everybody, don't they? Arkansas's at BYU. And then they got to play Liberty and Auburn back to back. Then LSU and Mississippi. So I like Arkansas, though. I think they're going to run. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. I think Arkansas goes on the 2-0 run. I think they take out Alabama at home.
Ooh.
I think Saban and them going there a little overconfident in 2 weeks, and Arkansas chips at them in Fayetteville.
I like
you
it.
guys
That's
are
bold.
just Team Arkansas. Team Razorbacks, you two.
I think that's the one Saban. You know, there's a game every year like Saban kind of they struggle. Sometimes they win, but I think that's the one that it might sneak up on them. I need to watch Alabama a little bit more. I haven't watched them too much, to be honest, but I know they are what they are. So,
well, guys, all I know is next week I'm going to be really obnoxious or I'm going to be really humbled. So you're going to get something out of me.
You talked about
I may not show up next week if I have a bad week. I may be on live. It may be D-Pays and Semenza.
Listen, if Cincinnati gets beat, your profile picture next week has to be the Indiana logo.
Hey, if I lose any of these games, just take my name off.
Your name next week has to be J Indiana,
or just I'll be up here and just put me on mute. Don't let me speak or pick.
No, actually, your name next week has to be Jimmy Chitwood from the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I'll be something. I'll be something. You guys can take away any privilege or right.
And we're going to
if I'm right though, y'all better be ready because I am going to be very, very excited.
Listen, if Indiana wins, you can only respond to when we say Jimmy Chitwood. What is your pick this week?
Indiana's not going to win. Cincinnati's going to win.
Well, Bubba can isolate clips. He can take a specific clip. So what he can do is he can isolate your pick.
Yeah,
we can
do a side by side. We could do a side by side. But listen, I was 3-2 last week. If I go better than 3-2, y'all better watch out because I am going to be.
I'll be on a hot streak.
Fire.
Ready to be on fire. Hey, you made a good point, Semenza. I'll tell you a guy that you just said I think is going to get a look after this year is Browse, the offense coordinator at Arkansas. I think he's going to get some head coach looks here soon.
Yeah,
he would have already got him, but they're just because of the father, the Baylor thing. That's why they're
If West Virginia, you talk about West Virginia, if they got rid of Neil Brown, I'd be one of the first calls I would make.
Yeah, anybody that can score points is going to
Yeah.
get a head coaching job. That's the only reason why he's had to wait.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a really good fit. Now that you mention it, Briles to West Virginia, especially considering their offensive challenges with Neil Brown. I mean, that might be a really interesting fit.
It amazes me, guys. Some of these programs that just truly struggle finding quarterbacks. That just truly, I mean, West Virginia's a great. I mean, they finally got Daniels in this year as a transfer, but a school with that much resources and that much, a great conference has a lot of support. West Virginia hasn't had a quarterback since Geno. I mean, they haven't had a successful quarterback since Geno Smith. Think about that.
And that's been a long time. I mean, that was what, 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When they first got in the Big 12, I mean, think about LSU, how they struggled trying to get a quarterback when they finally got Joe Burrow in to be a transfer and win a national championship for 1 year. But think about how much they struggled before. It just amazes me, those schools with all these resources, they just can't lock good quarterbacks down.
It is surprising. I mean, and like the Florida Gators have really struggled at quarterback over the years. And how many 5-star recruits have they had? I can't think of the kid's name that he originally went to Florida and then he transferred to Arkansas.
Oh yeah. I can see it and I can't think of his name.
Felipe Franks.
Yeah, Frank. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, they've had so many guys like that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it is surprising that they can't find the guy at quarterback.
Yeah, these programs, it's amazing to me that a school like East Carolina has had better quarterbacks than a lot of schools that have a lot more resources. You think somebody would have took Dominique Davis 10, 12 years ago, or somebody would have took a Shane Carden, or even Holton now? I mean, you just think about that, like some of these schools that have just truly struggled at quarterback. But then you have North Carolina's had good quarterbacks with Trubisky did well in college, and the Mays kid is good. Sam Howell was good, but they just hasn't. They've had good quarterbacks, but it hasn't made the programs more successful.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes it only takes that one quarterback to turn around the whole program. So it's a little bit surprising.
Absolutely. We got any more? We got one more.
So I guess we got Jay, you can't.
Yeah, I won't pick it, but I talk about it. I mean, ECU Navy. Is that what we're talking about, fellas?
Yeah.
17, right?
So I mean, listen, ECU's probably played the 3 best games, even though the NC State game didn't go the way. East Carolina's playing outstanding. I've been very, very impressed with everything. Navy's coming in, and Navy's 0-2 right now, but they're coming off a bye, and they are motivated. So I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I think this is going to be an outstanding game. Whenever you have a team that's motivated, that's tough. Navy's offense, no matter what their record is, it's tough to defend. But for Navy, they're going against the East Carolina team that is hot, and they're getting better every week. So that's kind of my analysis on it.
I think the spread's a little high. I think it's a little bit high. But you just never, I mean, the one good thing for East Carolina is they've got some coaches on their staff. It's, I think Coach Houston talked about that this week, that are familiar with this offense, have went up against it, have been a part of teams at Citadel and North Ryan that ran this offense. So I think that is an advantage, an advantage. I mean, I think East Carolina wins. 17 is a little high.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I always kind of joke around. I'd rather play Alabama than Navy because I'm still traumatized about some of those losses from 10 years ago in Greenville and just watching them run the option up and down the field. But this year I feel a lot better about it. I'm optimistic because for a few things. I mean, you look at Navy, they lost to Delaware, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it 7-0? Bubba might know. But I think they lost to Delaware, or maybe they beat Delaware 7-0. But they weren't impressive there. Then they lost to Memphis by quite a bit, 14-7 Delaware. So that's it's pretty interesting that Delaware could hold them to that kind of offensive output. And then I like the fact that I really like the size of our receivers being able to sort of out-finesse their DBs on the back end and our ability to go up and get jump balls. So and just everything we talked about earlier with Holton kind of being at the top of his game, I think we're really going to challenge them in the passing game. So, but I agree with you guys. 17 is a little high. I think East Carolina is. I feel very confident we're going to win this game, but I think it's going to be more like 14 around there. So I would say Navy covers the 17.
So let me ask you a question. If Navy comes in and tries to stack the box, then because I love Coach Houston. I think he does a great job, but sometimes I think he's going to try to establish that run no matter what it is. Do you think if they stack the box and do you think they open up the passing earlier?
Well, I mean, I think depending on how a team you may go in with one game plan. Either team goes in with a game plan, and if they're trying to, you've got to have balance. So if they're dropping back in the secondary, like if they're not blitzing, if they're only rushing 3, then you can run the ball. Mm-hmm. If they're loading, if either team, I mean, depending on what they're going to do, if a team tries to stack the box then you're going to have opportunities one-on-one on the outside. Mm-hmm. But I think also too, if any team, if you stack the box, I mean, there's been times where these opponents have stacked the box against East Carolina. If you get to the second level, it's a touchdown because of Mitchell's speed, because everyone's on the line of scrimmage. So that's the thing, it's these teams, certain teams loaded up and, trying to stop the run. But even if you run against it, if you can outflank them or get to the second level, then it's game over. So, it's an interesting matchup on both sides. I mean, that's in any ball game. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because if we can, you've got you got Navy. If we can get past them this week, and I think USF can be a little tricky. They got an athletic quarterback. I think we've shown that we struggle a little bit with some athletic quarterbacks. The Campbell kid last week, we struggled with him a little bit. And I don't think that's just East Carolina struggles with athletic quarterbacks. I think that's across the board. But if you can get them next to that Tulane game, could be setting up to be a big one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this is the type of game you got to stay healthy. You got to stay healthy. The style Navy plays on the interior always makes me a little concerned. But if we can stay healthy, though, I think this team has a real tremendous chance to compete for the conference. So, but we got to find a way to get through this one with all our players healthy.
Yeah, Tulane is Southern Miss this week. Then they have a Friday night game. They're gonna have an extra day of rest against us. They play at Houston on September 30th, and then of course us in New Orleans on October 8th. So, and I'm a little curious to see how East Carolina with 4 in a row home games, how we react on which I thought last year we played well on the road, but I think with 4 straight home games going to that first road game against USF, if how we react to that.
What do you guys think about the fact that Navy is it 4 times in a row that they've had a bye week before they play East Carolina? I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah, and they always like to schedule Navy with us early I mean, the last couple of times it's been early. Last year was November game, right? But I think the year before that, when Holton was got tested positive for COVID, that was the early game. Then 2019, Houston's first season, that was an early Navy. That was an early Navy game. It was early in the season. I think Ruff's last year, that was an early game. I was at that game. That was an early at Annapolis. That was early in the season. So, yeah, I don't know. The luck of the draw or what?
Yeah, it's I have to believe that our athletic director is on the phone with the AAC and they want to get that fixed for next year, because that's kind of a crazy stat. Whether I'm sure it's just by chance, so some freak chance that happened, but that's not doesn't seem right to me.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then having these 4, Sonny, I mean, you played having 4, both of y'all play having 4 home games in a row. I think that's to start the season. I don't know if we've done that in a long time.
Well, it's not. I mean, the good thing is for East Carolina, they're going to have a couple more, 3 more home games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got 4 and then you're gone for a month, that's where it's tough. But there's a bye
Yeah.
week in between. There's still 3 more. So, I mean, basically in 2 months, you're going to have a bye week and 3 home games. So that's, I mean, of course, you'd want to probably have it more split out potentially. But I mean, it's also nice having home field advantage to start the season and get momentum. So, but I mean, yeah, ideally you would maybe want it spread out a little bit.
Because that back end of October, we got a Friday game at BYU, and then we're a bye week, and then we have a Thursday game in Cincinnati. It's like we don't play like 3 or 4 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah, I mean, the back end of the schedule on paper is very, very tough for East Carolina.
Yeah. And then at Houston at home, and then Temple at Temple.
I'll tell you what, it's like, as I've watched more and more, the past couple of years, the schedule thing for and this goes across any team, like what it says on paper right now, it may look easy, it may be hard, but things can change based off of teams not performing, based off of injuries, but also it's all based off of improvement. The teams that are really good at the end of the year are the ones that get better.
Mm-hmm.
They're the teams that get better, and also they're the ones that are consistent. So there may be teams that are really, really talented, but they can only play that well 6 games out of the year, where a team may not be as talented, but if they can play consistently pretty good 9 or 10 games, that's going to be a team with a better record.
But you look at like BYU, they've got play Notre Dame before they play us. They play Notre Dame, Arkansas, Liberty. Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Liberty, the 3 games before us. Then after us, they play Boise State and Stanford.
It's a brutal schedule. Absolutely brutal schedule. I mean, that's no joke.
They're playing at Liberty the week before us. So
hopefully they'll get so beat up that we were able to go in there and take care of business. And I actually really want to get to that game out in Provo. That's a game that's a beautiful, beautiful stadium, the scenery. I don't know, man. I don't know how many Pirate fans will be able to make that trip, but that's one I want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. I made my Ann Arbor reservations this week for next year. I think it's a once in a lifetime. When ECU opens up in Michigan next year.
Good for you. Yeah, I definitely want to get to that one as well.
Sonny, do you think you've been following how good would you compare this team to maybe 2013 10-3 team, the 2014 8-5 team, which I thought should have been better than 8-5, or any of maybe Skip's last year? How do you compare this team to those?
I think, obviously record wise, and we'll see how they progress, how East Carolina progresses and how much better they get. But style wise, I think right now this team plays defense.
Mm-hmm.
In Ruffin's teams didn't play defense. I mean, they did, but they didn't. They were about their offense. These teams compare more to me because when Skip Holtz was here, it was balanced, complementary football, offense and defense. And people may disagree with me on the Ruffin thing, but that was an offensive driven team.
Yeah, they played enough defense to win. Plus,
that was Conference USA. Anyways, I know they weren't big out of conference games, but I'm very impressed with East Carolina. So,
what you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think right now we have as good of weapons on offense as we've had. Honestly, when you really look at it, we have 3 running backs right now that I feel like could start a game and compete very well. Really impressed. I don't know if Marlon Gunn is ready to start, but I'm really impressed with what I see from him. And then, the talent we have at wide receiver and then 2 tight ends. So in terms of obviously the quarterback, I don't want to forget about the quarterback, but I think right now the talent we have is as good as we've had on offense in many, many years. But I do agree. I think Jay makes a good point that it's closer to those Skip Holtz years in terms of the balance, playing great defense, and then being able to play smash mouth football on offense. That's what I really like about this team. I just like when you can line up and run the football when you need to. And the fact that we've been able to wear people down in the fourth quarter sounds cliche, but there's nothing more demoralizing. Any defensive player will tell you this. Nothing more demoralizing than when you're on defense and it's the fourth quarter and a team's just lining up and running the ball down your throat. It is the worst feeling in the world. So I love the fact that we can do that now, and really hoping we can do it this week against Navy.
This team reminds me. Matt, what year did you graduate?
I graduated about 100 years ago in 97.
So I did too. So this team reminds me a little bit of that 96 team with Harley. You had great wide receivers, Mitch Galloway, Jason Nichols, Larry Shannon. You had three. Who was these? Was Scott Richards the tight end then? Was it?
But yeah, I think it was Scott Richards or Buck Collins.
Buck. Yeah, sure was. Yeah, but it reminds me a lot of those teams that Marcus Crandall was a great quarterback, and you can get in a conversation about Holton and Marcus, but there was a lot of balance there, and you had Harley in the backfield. I think with Jarris McPhail was Jarris McPhail was 95, 96. So Jamie Wilson was kind of coming up at that time. Yeah. So it reminds me a lot of that 96 team was 9-3.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And didn't make a bowl game.
Yeah. And so the balance that Logan had on that team, on those teams were. That's what this reminds me of. I mean, the 10-3 team in 2013 was a pass heavy offense, and then, the 8-5 team in 14 was, I think as much as Skip did well, I think this team is offensively better than anything Skip ever had.
Yeah.
Can you agree with that, Sonny?
Yeah, I agree so far. Yeah, I mean, it's all going to depend on health and how much better they get. But yeah.
Yeah. But do you think this is I don't think Skip had any good. I think Skip had good teams, but I think offensively, this team is probably better than anything Skip had offensively. Besides CJ.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it progresses. But
yeah,
the one thing is that there's a lot of talented players in different positions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. I mean, they'll have to prove it out on the field.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So, fellas, what do you think of the white helmet? You guys saw the pictures surface today. What do you think? Oh, look at that! That is a nice helmet, man.
I'm good with it. I remember when they debuted the 2014 Cincinnati game when they debuted the all white. I saw that. So they're doing the whole uniform. I saw they released that a little bit earlier. So the whole uniform is white for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just that. Yeah, they released. I saw a video on Twitter. They're going white bottoms, white tops, and a white helmet. So.
Jay, what do you think, Jay?
I mean, I like it, but I mean, whatever, whatever makes you play good is all that matters. So, I mean, the uniform combinations are always cool to see how it's going to be released and what they're going to wear. But I mean, I think it is. I think it is cool for the players to have different options.
So there's a rumor floating around that the homecoming game could be the 92 Peach Bowl uniforms. Have y'all heard that?
Interesting. I've heard mention of it, like just in passing. I haven't heard anything concrete, but that would be pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard any rumors. Nobody tells me. B-Pays, you got the inside scoop.
Well, supposedly that
the inner circles, B-Pays.
Well, they're bringing this. They announced this, thing. What are they calling it? The classic logos they're putting stuff on now. What are they? I think they're using another. But I forgot what that term they're using. But they're using like a term for, they're starting to sell stuff at UBE and student stores that has like the old school logos, the 90s logos, the Pirate Vault. Yeah, there it is, Pirate Vault. So I think they might be setting that up for that. So because enter a game, somebody designed a uniform. I think he won a competition.
Yeah,
and he designed the uniform.
Exactly, and that's going to be interesting to see what that's all about too. It was a former student, I guess, that there was some competition on campus to see who could design, the nicest uniform, and so that's kind of how it went down. But that's going to be really cool to see.
I still have my 92 Jeff Blake jersey here at the house. Break it out.
You could rock that.
Yeah, it's the authentic one too. It's the, it's not the screen print. It's the embroidery. Remember when it was about 20 years ago when they sold those? They were Russells.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, still got that. I still have the East Carolina 95 starter jacket too. I need to bring it back out. It don't fit me anymore, but I need to bring it back out. The original starter jacket with the PD on the back with the like this, from 1995.
That was before Jay was born.
I wish.
Jay, how old are you, Jay?
I'm 37. I was born in 84.
Oh, lucky.
So you were 13 in 97. Yeah.
I'm ancient. I mean, I can't even,
you guys are wise.
I think me and Semenza are the same.
That's why you guys are winning every week and I'm losing, because y'all are wise and I'm not wise.
Oh, there it is. There's the whole uniform.
I love it, fellas. I absolutely love it, man. It's clean. It's sharp. I'm a big fan.
One thing I would have liked on that, gold face mask.
All right.
Yeah. Nice gold face mask on there would have brought it out a little bit. But no, I like them.
Yeah.
Be good.
It's sharp. Well, what do you guys think? Should we wrap it?
Yeah, that sounds good. Very good.
Great.
I can't wait to next week to.
Yeah, I can't wait to see
after Indiana.
If I still have a name on this show, or if I'm fired. I might be fired.
After Jimmy Chitwood and the Hoosiers.
I'm either going to be talking I'm going to be really obnoxious, or I'm going to be really quiet.
Bearcats.
I may be on bye week next week. So
I have a old school. I'm gonna wear it next week too. If I don't have it in, it's not in my studio right now. But I have a hickory from the movie Hoosiers. I have an old school snapback, the hickory snapback hat. So if Indiana wins next week, I'll be rocking that during the.
Well, I won't be seeing your hat, B-Pays, because I'm gonna be I lose. Y'all won't be seeing me. Y'all have to let me know how the show goes. I'm gonna take my L and just not show up. All right, well, great show, guys. You guys are awesome. Can't
Absolutely.
Wait for this weekend. Hopefully we all get some wins, and I hope that I'm allowed to come back. Hopefully I at least go 1-4, not 0-5. So.
What's your schedule? What do you get your schedule weekly, or do you know? So you've got, or do you just kind of know?
It just kind of depends. Yeah, it just kind of depends. But yeah, this week got a high school game Friday night, Apex Friendship Holly Springs, and then Saturday East Carolina Navy. So big weekend of football, and I love it. So.
Absolutely. I'll be, I can't make it. My daughter has an event on Saturday, so I can't make this game, but I'll be tailgating at the house and putting it up on the on the TV on television on Saturday, so I'll be following that way. I'll be listening to. If I see something wrong, I'll text you again. I'll give you a wink.
I'll give you a head nod, face. Give you a head nod.
Yeah, give me
I'll give you one too, Maddie.
Yeah, and don't let I'll start tweeting you if Indiana wins. So no worries during your telecast.
You do better keep me up to date on the scores.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm gonna have Bubba ISO that clip. It's on the record, Jay. It's on the record.
I came on this show confident today, so if I lose, y'all have full reign to destroy me.
I can't wait. Now I got to watch the game. I wasn't even going to watch the Indiana-Cincinnati game. I'm going to watch.
I know Bubba's going to have all this footage, so. But Bubba, if I get everything right, if I'm 5-0, y'all just better be ready for me. I'm going to give a soliloquy on my picks.
Awesome.
All right, great show, fellas.
Have fun. Fellas. Take
care. Great job, man. Take care.
Thanks.
Right, thanks. See you guys.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates. Listen to the show pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. Be sure to follow us on social media at The Sports OBJ on Twitter and TikTok, at The Sports Objective on Instagram. Like and follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate you listening to the show, and go Pirates!